Snow White is not a story meant to lull children to sleep. It is a cautionary tale shaped by fear, envy, and survival. A narrative that exposes how beauty can provoke violence and how innocence often offers no protection. Long before it was softened for modern audiences, Snow White served as a grim warning about power, jealousy, and the price of being seen in a world ruled by appearance. Beauty, envy, and the terror of being replaced. In the original tale, beauty is not admiration. It is authority. The queen's power depends entirely on her being the most admired woman in the land. Her magic mirror is not a whimsical object, but a judge, constantly measuring her worth. Each time she asks who is the fairest, she is asking whether she still matters. When the mirror names Snow White, the queen does not simply feel jealousy. She feels extinction. Snow White's youth represents the queen's inevitable decline. In early versions where the queen is Snow White's biological mother, the story becomes even darker. The child is not loved, but rivaled. The bond between mother and daughter collapses under the pressure of vanity and fear, revealing a terrifying truth. In a world that worships youth, even blood ties can be sacrificed. Snow White's beauty becomes a death sentence. She does nothing to earn hatred. Her existence alone is enough. Predation. Hidden behind politeness and care. The queen does not hunt Snow White like a monster. She approaches her as a woman offering help, advice, and gifts. Each attempt is deeply intimate. A bodice tightens around the chest, stealing breath, a metaphor for control. A comb poisons through the scalp, beauty turned lethal. The apple, the most innocent object of all, becomes the final weapon. These acts reveal one of the darkest truths of the story. Danger rarely announces itself. Snow White is taught to be polite, trusting, and obedient. These traits do not save her. They make her vulnerable. Even the queen's demand for Snow White's lungs and liver, organs associated with breath and vitality, reflects ancient beliefs in consuming another's life force. The queen does not just want Snow White dead, she wants to absorb what makes her powerful. Exile, labor, and conditional safety. When Snow White flees into the forest, she enters a space beyond protection. The forest is where fairy tales send the unwanted. Survival there is not guaranteed. It must be earned. The dwarfs, often portrayed as gentle guardians, represent isolation and labor. Their protection comes with conditions. Snow White is safe only if she works, cleans, and remains useful. This reflects the harsh reality of the time. Safety for young girls was often transactional. Even kindness required obedience. Snow White survives not through strength or rebellion, but through silence and service. Death, display, and the absence of romance. Snow White's death is not peaceful. She collapses into a state of suspended life, neither alive nor dead. The dwarfs do not bury her. They place her in a glass coffin, preserving her beauty and displaying her body. Even in death, Snow White is valued only for how she looks. The prince does not awaken her through love. In the original story, he is drawn to her corpse. Her revival occurs by accident when the poisoned apple dislodges from her throat. There is no magic kiss, no recognition of her suffering. Her survival is chance, not reward. Justice without mercy. The ending offers no forgiveness. The queen is forced to wear red-hot iron shoes and dance until she dies. This is not symbolic. It is public execution. Old fairy tales did not believe in redemption. They believed in warning. Evil is not reformed. It is destroyed. Snow White does not triumph through bravery. She endures. And that is the most unsettling truth of all. And now, the real story of Snow White. A queen once sat at her window in the middle of winter, sewing beside a frame of black wood. Snow drifted down outside, silent and endless. She pricked her finger and 3 drops of blood fell upon the snow. Looking at the stark contrast, she wished for a child with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. Her wish was granted, but she did not live to see the child grow. Snow White's mother died, and the king took a new wife. The new queen was beautiful, proud, and deeply afraid of losing her place. She owned a magic mirror that spoke the truth. Each day she asked it who was the fairest in the land, and each day it assured her that she was, until Snow White grew older. One day, the mirror answered differently. It named Snow White. Fear turned to obsession. The queen ordered a huntsman to take the girl into the forest and kill her, demanding her lungs and liver as proof. The huntsman led Snow White deep among the trees, raised his knife, and could not do it. He spared her life and brought the organs of a wild boar instead. The queen cooked and ate them, believing she had consumed Snow White's life. Snow White fled through the forest until she came upon a small cottage belonging to 7 miners. Exhausted and starving, she collapsed inside. When the dwarfs returned, they agreed to let her stay only if she kept house for them. With nowhere else to go, she accepted. When the mirror revealed Snow White still lived, the queen disguised herself and traveled to the cottage. She arrived first as a merchant and laced Snow White into a bodice so tight she fell unconscious. The dwarfs saved her. The queen returned again, this time with a poisoned comb. Once more, Snow White collapsed, and once more she was revived. Finally, the queen crafted a poisoned apple, red and white, beautiful and deadly. She bit into the safe half herself to prove it harmless. Snow White trusted her and took a bite from the poisoned side. She fell lifeless to the floor. The dwarfs wept and placed Snow White in a glass coffin so they could still look upon her beauty. Time passed, seasons changed. One day, a prince came upon the coffin and demanded it be carried away. As it was moved, the piece of apple lodged in Snow White's throat dislodged, and she awoke, gasping for breath. They soon married. At the wedding feast, the queen arrived, still believing herself supreme. When she recognized Snow White alive and crowned, she was seized. Red-hot iron shoes were placed upon her feet, and she was forced to dance until she collapsed and died. Snow White watched. There was no fairy godmother, no spell broken by love, no mercy offered. Only envy punished, innocence scarred, and a girl who survived a world that tried repeatedly to erase her, simply for being seen.